Let us not dawdle, for there are grudges to settle, and new entries in the Dammer's Cron to right.
Howdy, howdy, Sudevil here, and welcome back to another multiplayer match. A match between the Dowie and the Vampire Coast, and this is a build that I've been working on. I've put Belegar in here. I know I've had one fight with this build, and I wanted to have another one just while I worked on it. So Belegar Ironhammer is my leader. He is stripped down. He has nothing except himself, has no abilities, but he does have that silver shield, so he's resistant to gunfire, and he's got really good stats: 60 melee attack, 55 melee defense. He does not have a whole lot of armor piercing, but he can get the job done, and he's resistant to magic. Now in my lineup I do have 5 dwarf warriors. I think dwarf warriors are good enough to defeat all the chaff. Remember my original build was quite different. It has a lot of long beards and units that are immune to psychology. Just don't really need that. We do also have 5 basic rangers, and in the original build we had 5 Bugman's Rangers, I think, and now here's the meat. We have 7 groups of Slayers, really for the back line, and with the Dragonback Slayers at the very, very back to anchor the entire line. Now this is something that I think is, I'm just playing with my builds because I want to find sort of a finalized build which I think will be optimum against most builds. I think this in general is going to be a little bit weak to depth guard, and he happens to have 3 groups of depth guard. So 1, and they're all hiding, 2, 3. Where is the other one? Right here. And they're all hiding and hidden right now, so they could not be hit by artillery if I wanted. He has 4 groups of zombie pirate deckhand mobs in the front just to hold things down. He does have 4 groups of the deck droppers with handguns, so they are armor piercing. And he has 2 over here, and he has 3 groups of the deck gunners, which are 245 range, and they have that what is it, armor sundering? Well, they reduce your missile parry chance. So they basically, if they hit you, they reduce your chance. They take away your shield pretty much completely. And he has Noctilus on foot, and I think that's probably a pretty good pick to bring him on foot, in my opinion. He has Captain Roth Moondial for the zombie summons. He has Wraith Storm, 3 uses of that. Arcane Conduit, the Withering, minus 30 armor. Again, a pretty good boost to for the depth guard and his other troops. Mystifying Malakoth, Mystifying Miasma. He has Invocation and Heck for the heals, Drown Dead for the summons, and I think that's it. He has Hunger, yeah, Smoke and Mirrors for 12% speed, Curse of Undeath, and he has his other things. Now we'll get this fight started. Basically in this fight, all I want to do is get my units up and engaged. I can't see everything right now, so I'm just giving everything targets. I will start to see that business over there, so I'm going to want to set something up like this. So I think I'm going to take these guys and break them off out here, and I do want to take a couple of rangers and shoot at these deck droppers, because I cannot have them firing at will against me, and I really have to pay attention to what these deck droppers are doing. So I will get, I don't mind if they're hitting my dwarf warriors. Here's what I don't want them hitting. I don't want him hitting the Slayers, so I'm going to turn some of my units. I did originally have them all facing this way to take shots at these deck droppers, and I believe I will turn some back the other way. I really just want to get these guys engaged, and I want to get Belegar engaged and let that fight start occurring. So now we're going to take these deck droppers down very, very fast. They are quite weak against the Dowie, to be perfectly honest, and I am bringing my Slayers up on this side, and I have some Slayers back here. There, I'll bring my Slayers into the zombie pirate deckhand mobs, and now I've got 2 units over here, and I'm just pushing off. I just want to keep things out, and I see those deck gunners, so I have to do something about them, so I think I'm going to chase them down, and he's just sort of mucking up my units. So I've got this fight going with Noctilus and Belegar Ironhammer. Here's where Belegar Ironhammer, he's just fine. Noctilus, 110 armor, he has 45 and 60, he has 60 and 55, so he has 10 extra stat points, so he's going to do fine in that fight, and you can see that he is winning in that basic showdown. And my zombie pirate deckhand bobs are getting crushed by my dwarf warriors, and I have a lot of units here in reserve. I was bringing these guys up, but I do see the depth guard, so I'm just going to hightail it back with them, keep these guys pushed out, and now I've got my Slayers on the other side, and I can bring them over. I was bringing up here. I did not see these guys. Now I do. So these guys are going to shoot, so these guys are going to start come up, and they will lay waste to my Slayers. But really, I just want to keep shooting, get the deck droppers off the field, push them away, And now that these depth guard are coming, they don't have shields, so I just want to run away and shoot. So he's actually pushing back out. He wants to shoot in with his deck gunners and trying to find ways to get his deck droppers in. But, you know, my Rangers do have shields, so if they're not being hit, that's fine with me. And I'll trade with that all day with the deck droppers. I think our Rangers are very, very strong in here. And we've got our Dwarf Warriors, we've got our Slayers, we've got these Slayers. I think I will actually eventually bring them into a rear charge. And I got these Slayers coming on the deck droppers here. Unfortunately, my Slayers are being tied up by depth guard. That's not great. I did want my Slayers on the deck gunners, but I pushed them through. I pushed these guys off for the most part, and now I can get my Rangers forward. And, you know, Belgar's just fine in this front. I have brought in Dragonback Slayers to hit Count Noctilus, and we're bringing over some more Dwarf Warriors. And these depth guard are a little too late. Now that they're coming in, I can just send my Dwarf Warriors up against them and just really shoot at them. Yeah, and shoot at these guys as much as I want. These guys are in the back firing away, but that's been just fine. They just haven't been able to get enough damage. Really, I have a massive line here for these units. I could have focused more, but you know, the Slayers are just going to do an outstanding job. Like wherever I put them, they're really, really strong in this matchup. Just the base Slayer, because they're good against everything but the depth guard, basically. You know, and maybe Count Nautilus on foot, but you can see now the depth guard are coming in. Yeah, they're going to beat up my Dwarf Warriors, but really all I got to do is set these guys up here, and then we're all going to shoot into the depth guard, and you can see we're going to do a ton of damage to them. They're just classic Dowie tactics, where I'm going to hold them up with my Dwarf Warriors and gun them down with my other units. I'm going to send these Dwarf Warriors around to get after these depth gunners, or sort of deck gunners rather. And there I am sending these Slayers to help there. I've got a little bit of extra shooting here, so we're just going to shoot into these depth gunners, and we're going to bring these Slayers around. You know, they're very, very vulnerable because they do not have those shields. And I brought, you know, I have Slayers on these Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs, and that's why Slayers are really, really good in this matchup. They don't have armor piercing, but these guys just don't have armor like all these units. So they, even though they are anti-large, they cut through them pretty fast. So you can see we've got this chase happening. We've got rid of the depth guard over here, and we're plugging away at these depth guard, trying to get my Slayers over here. So these two depth guard are still fighting. They're doing great. This army is not great at fighting depth guard. I have no armor piercing at all in the entire army. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, now you can see I can just bring these guys up. I think I'm going to bring them up to here and then shoot at these depth droppers and just hold with the rest of my army. I don't need to get Belagar involved, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to send up the rest of my army, and we can have Slayers, Dwarf Warriors, Slayers, and Dragback Slayers kind of fighting in that front line. And they're going to fight to the death and do just fine. And I've got my Dwarf Warriors over here. They will take out these deck gunners very easily. Deck gunners have just terrible stats. 5 melee attack, 10 melee defense, so these Dwarf Warriors will have no problem taking them out. These guys are going to come and just shoot at the deck droppers. The Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs are being summoned by Count Noctilus, and I've got these Dwarf Warriors. So basically, I'm taking all my wounded troops. We're going to bring them up all around here. And now I can start shooting into these deck droppers. And you can watch, one volley just absolutely decimates them. You know, he's done a good job at keeping them moving around the field of battle. But every time they stop, we can get in there and just absolutely crush them. So it's really, this is the Dowie advantage over the Vampire Coast, which I think is pretty significant. And Count Noctilus is now, he does have his summons, but now everything, even depth guard, he's got invocation to hack, but they just can't last. And we just got, you know, now these Dwarf Warriors are coming back. Now we're shooting into the depth guard, and Count Noctilus is pretty much it. Yeah, I think I'm putting all these guys over here, and we're just going to bring my extra troops. They're now out of arrows, and this is kind of one of the things that Rangers, I would say, are a little bit of advantage of. Well, you don't very often get to use all of your arrows, and so not having as many arrows as Quarrelers is not that big of a disadvantage. So I just moved these Dragonback Slayers out of the way so I can just gun these guys down. And then now it's time to fight. I've got Belagar in here fighting Noctilus, and we will just get that fight going. Yeah. Noctilus is doing his very best. Okay, and can I see it? There we go. Belagar beating up Noctilus, all kinds of dwarfs kicking around there, and all the Slayers are jumping in, and they're gonna start smashing him as well, and there goes Noctilus, and that is the end of the battle. All right, so let's take a look at the end plates, and this is the last battle I'll have with this particular army. I am developing this. I want to kind of get sort of my ideal build for Vampire Coast, which I think you can build. You can pretty much take anything with the Dowie and do well. It is really difficult for the Vampire Coast to stand and bang with a Dowie. I wouldn't take artillery, because you just don't need it. And artillery is one of those funny things that can be problematic if they have either they have enough artillery to deal with your artillery, or they have a really good anti-artillery answers. In this case, no matter what map I'm on with an army like this, I'm going to do good. And Dwarf Warriors, again, fantastic. They held and did what they needed to do. Belegar did everything he needed to do. Again, only 1,100 gold compared to like Count Noctis is probably 2,500 gold. We could actually go see what that is. Now, again, I have no answers to depth guard at all in this entire build, and he did bring 3 depth guard. They got 60, 208, and 53, so they did really well. But have really good answers to everything else. The Dwarf Warriors are basically the hard counter to zombie pirate deckhand mobs and deck gunners, and Rangers are the hard counter to deck droppers. And so that sort of thing. And if he had brought large, it would have been even worse. Now, I don't think I need as many Slayers, but they did really good. And this is one of the advantages Slayers have in this matchup. 80, 45, 45, 152, 60, 6, and 36 is there is really only one unit on the entire roster that Slayers have to worry about, and that is depth guard. Everything else, it's either large or it doesn't have a whole lot of armor, and it can't deal with Slayers. So Slayers is, I think, a really, really good really good counter to this. Now, my next build I'm going to start doing against the Vampire Coast. I want to make sort of a tournament legal build where you can only have 5 Slayers. I think I really like this sort of setup. 5 Dwarf Warriors, 5 Rangers, and I can have 5 Slayers, and we'll see what we do with that other 1,800 gold. I think one of the other... I think Belegar is really good in this matchup because he's super cheap. He's hard to hit and has a silver shield, so he's very defendable and has really good stats. I think the other Lord that would actually be very good in this matchup is Thorgrim Grudgebearer. And the reason is because he's large, and a lot of the Vampire Coast units, like the Mongols, are actually anti-infantry. So you could say that Thorgrim might be better because he is a large target, so any anti-large answers won't do anything against him. I might try a build with that. I really do like Belegar in this, and I don't know. I probably 3 or 4 weeks ago was the last time I had a video showing Belegar with this build, and I've since seen 2 builds with Belegar in them. Turin actually had a build with the Dowie with Belegar, which was really nice, and I saw one on Gen Out Occasions channel. So I would recommend you go over to those channels and look for the Dwarfs versus the Vampire Coast and see the builds that those guys are using. And I think the logic is correct. You don't really need a Rune Lord in this build because there's not there's not going to be a whole lot of targets for Rune of Wrath and Rune. I mean, this faction is very slow, and it really isn't that required as a unit, even though it's very good. So you can get away with Belegar at 1,100. And possibly Thorgrim. I might have a build with Thorgrim in there. So my next builds are going to be maybe a little bit more rounded and more of the final build as the Dwarfs against the Vampire Coast. And I might make a little video of this matchup for everybody and title it as such. Anyways, hope you found it interesting, and I look forward to any comments down below. And hopefully you like the sound. I got a brand new mic, so it's going to sound a little bit different from here on out, I think. I mean, I have about 15 other videos I've yet to release with my old mic, so it'll be sort of up and down the sound. Hopefully the sound levels are coming out correctly, and I'll tweak those over time, but I don't think I can get a better mic than the one that I have now. So anyways, hope you found it interesting. Hope the sound sounded all right, and looking forward to hearing you down in the comments, and I will see you soon.